Hey everyone, Sassy Mouse here, and today I'm going to be talking about some of my self-care goals and encouraging you to come up with some self-care goals of your own. Regardless of the time of year, although definitely the end of summer is a good time to think about this, you should be having some self-care goals in mind. Where I live in Washington, we are going to be entering the rainy season very soon, which means that people who are impacted by seasonal affective disorder are going to start having symptoms of that very, very quickly. Even for people that don't, it can be a time that's kind of difficult because the things you were enjoying doing during the summer are suddenly kind of taken away from you as the rainy season rolls in. Thus, it's important to have some self-care goals in mind going into this season so that you can keep things up and you can stay active and you can stay healthy and you can do what you need to do. This is particularly important for me because I have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. Chronic fatigue syndrome is a condition that causes, chronic fatigue. I am frequently tired, have very low energy, and sometimes find it difficult to get out of bed in the morning. Fibromyalgia is a condition that often goes along with chronic fatigue syndrome, or rather, chronic fatigue syndrome goes along with fibromyalgia, in which I feel pain in my body pretty much 24/7. There isn't any known particular cause for it, although obviously something causes it and they don't really have a treatment for it. So doing self-care is especially important because it's one of the only ways that I can manage this condition and not cause it to get worse. I do want to point out that I do also have some other conditions in which self-care is especially important, such as bipolar disorder, ADHD, anxiety, and possibly other things that I can't remember right now because it's literally a laundry list. But whether you have mental health conditions or not, it's important to do self-care because it helps keep you stable and happier and healthier. And if you do have any physical or mental health conditions, self-care is a huge part of keeping those stable and allowing you to live your best life. Since COVID started, I haven't really been working other than doing YouTube, which isn't really a job at this point. So I've been trying to keep myself busy with other activities. But because of my chronic fatigue syndrome, I often find myself having a hard time getting up and doing stuff. And there are some days after I'm very busy that I crash in bed for 2 to 3 days in a row. Living with chronic fatigue is really hard because I often feel very tired. There have been times I've been in the middle of conversations and have literally started falling asleep or even fallen asleep, and it's really hard to maintain a job or maintain a good working environment if, you're falling asleep in the middle of everything. When I was working part-time, mostly because if I worked any more than that, I literally couldn't function. I was falling asleep at work all the time, and when I cut it down to part-time, I wasn't falling asleep at work at much, but I would come home and crash immediately afterwards. Thus, I've been appreciating not working because I can get more other things done, but I definitely continue to struggle with having the energy to do the things I want to do. Thus, part of my self-care routine is having regular activities that are of a reasonable intensity for my abilities. I will admit that through most of the last year, I haven't been keeping up with that as much as I would have liked to. There are many days when I really didn't do a whole lot and mostly just hung out watching YouTube or napping all day. Thus, my goal going into this fall season and the end of summer is to try to start exercising more and being more active in general. In talking with my husband about our long-term goals, one of the things we decided is that we want to try to hike the entire Pacific Crest Trail in a few years, which sounds ridiculous seeing as I went on a walk today with my cane because I literally couldn't walk without it. But I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna see if it's something that I can do. Either way, it's fun to have that as a goal and to try to work towards it. Now, that all being said, one of the things that I've been trying to do is to exercise more, which at this point means literally walking for as long as I can comfortably do so. Yesterday, I tried to walk without a cane, and I hurt my leg within the first 15 minutes of it and had to hobble back to my car. So today, in order to basically slow my pace down enough so that I wouldn't hurt myself, I walked with a cane. And that was one of the main reasons for that. It also had the benefit that if I did hurt my leg, I had something there to help me hobble back to my car, which thankfully didn't happen this time. That being said, regardless of your health status, if you are trying to incorporate exercise into your life, it can be really helpful to find out what you can physically do and be happy when you're doing it. 15 minutes of hobbling was all I could do yesterday. And that's okay. I can accept that about myself. And if that's all you can do, then that's great. At least you're getting up and doing something. I'm also trying to do other self-care activities. Back in high school, I did art all the time. And since then, I do it sporadically. I'm not really as consistent about doing art as I used to. Although you could call YouTube art, but really, things like drawing and painting I haven't been doing as often. So I've been trying to do that a little bit more, trying to sketch some, trying to do some paintings, and trying to, just do a little bit more. I've also been trying to do some baking. If you do cooking and or baking, one of the big benefits is that you can hit 2 self-care goals in one. You can have an activity that you're really enjoying, such as cooking or baking, that gets you engaged and really focused on what you're doing, and you end up having a tasty food at the end, and you can have some say in how healthy that particular food is. Even if you're doing baking, you can do healthier baking, you can do gluten-free or lower sugar, or incorporate more healthy ingredients such as whole wheat flour or nut flour or even fruits into your baking. And if you're doing cooking, you get to choose what ingredients go into it, and you can incorporate more healthy ingredients into the food that you're eating. As a result, you can feel better, eat a little bit healthier than you were before, and really kind of engage in that. One thing I will say that I've been doing the entire last year is I cook almost all of the meals that we eat at home. Although we did get a subscription to one of the food delivery companies, we are also sharing it with people, and we try to use it as minimally as possible and really only on the days when I physically cannot do any cooking. So at this point, I'm really trying to cook at least a few times per week and trying to incorporate healthy diet into our life as much as possible. Obviously, working on YouTube videos is also a good self-care activity for me. It gives me something that I have to do on a regular basis, otherwise the channel suffers. And yeah, I'm not really great at that at this point. My videos are sporadic at best. I try to do one at least every 2 weeks, but that definitely doesn't happen all the time. And bigger videos take a lot more out of me. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy for me to do the filming and the editing and everything and get it all done. So I'm definitely struggling with that a bit, but I am doing my best to get them done a little bit more regularly. I know that I'm never going to be one of those YouTubers who does a video every day of the week. That's hard on the people who are healthy and impossible for people like me who are struggling with physical and mental fatigue. It's just not going to happen. But I would like to try to get out a video per week, but that's not likely to happen in the next couple months at least, but I'm going to try to do them more often. I'm also trying to do more reasonable length videos because I know I have a tendency to chatter on a bit and have it go on and on and on and on. So, doing my best. With all that said, those are some of the self-care goals that I have, and you may have some self-care goals of your own. It can be really overwhelming starting a new self-care routine. And honestly, from my experience working in the rehab setting, people don't know what self-care is. Self-care is not that complicated. I would ask people, what self-care are you doing? And they thought it had to be some big, huge project, and it really doesn't. Self-care can be as simple as getting out of bed in the morning. Self-care can be as simple as cooking a small meal. It doesn't even have to be something complicated. Making eggs for yourself can be self-care. Self-care can be as simple as remembering to brush your teeth every day. Self-care can be as simple as remembering to take a shower a couple times per week. Self-care is a personal experience. It's any little things you're doing to help live your best life and live your healthiest life. So, that being said, regardless of where you are in your physical or mental abilities, try to incorporate some self-care into your life. It'll help you feel better and live better, and it may even help manage some of the symptoms of any conditions that you do have if you're struggling with that. If you are perfectly healthy and neurotypical, good for you. Awesome. Still do self-care. It's great for everyone. But if you do have a non-neurotypical mind, or you are struggling with some sort of physical disability, definitely focus on that self-care, even if it's the little things. With all that said, stay safe for everyone. Please take care. Please do your best to take care of yourselves. And I hope that you have a happy, healthy rest of the summer. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.